Kia ora. This is my book review on the Book of Disquiet by Fernando Pessoa. So, to cut a long story short, I love this book. It's very good. Pessoa, were you writing about me with Bernardo Soares? Or Soares? Like, really? It's uncanny how Pessoa depicts essentially just thoughts that I've just had, like private thoughts, and just depicts it on the page with his heteronym, Bernardo Soares. And so, okay, to break this book down, this is the complete edition. So this contains the early manuscripts of the Book of Disquiet, the first phase, which Purcell was working on in the like in about 1916 to 1920 kind of time frame, and they're a lot more rough. The persona that Purcell is using is not as fleshed out and doesn't have a name, so it is sort of Pessoa, but he's still kind of working out details and working out themes that when he properly creates Bernardo Soares, who is credited as the author of the Book of Disquiet, in the second phase, he has a lot more of a concrete idea of what he's writing about, and what Bernardo, what his deal is. So Bernardo is a bookkeeper, an assistant bookkeeper in the city of Lisbon. That's a very core theme of him. And he's a bit of a dreamer. He's a bit of a writer, but he keeps to himself, although he has friends, sort of in the canon of this novel. He's friends with Pessoa and is a fan of Pessoa's literary magazine or literary group, or his Pessoa's sort of collection of heteronyms. So there is intertextuality between Pessoa's other work and this one, although you do not have to have read the poems of Pessoa to really get it. The main thing you need to know about Pessoa is he wrote a lot of his words. Not a lot of his words. Well, I guess he did write a lot of his words. He wrote a lot of his works under different aliases that he treated as independent authors, although there is work of Pessoa commenting on the different inventions of the characters and their different styles and how they relate to Pessoa's sort of main style, if you can call it that. This work is a piece of modernism, and Pessoa is credited largely as introducing modernism to Portugal. So modernism is late 19th century, early 20th century movement, especially in literature. Like famous modernist works would be Ulysses by James Joyce or To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. Pessoa was not really connected with those writers, but he was aware of the movement and spread the movement into the Portuguese language, which this novel is written in Portuguese, and this is an English translation, obviously. The translation is, there's notes at the beginning and the introduction explaining the difficulties of translating Pessoa's writing, because he really does play with the specific grammar of Portuguese, which does not translate easily into English. His prose writing, I believe, translates better than his poetry, and I've read a translation of his poetry, but you can tell that it's missing the rhymes and it's missing the meter, which would really pull the whole thing together for an aesthetic experience. Yeah, the Book of Disquiet, it's a book about dreams. It's a book about the torpor of daily life. It's a book that vaguely invokes disquiet, but in a very abstract and kind of heady way. I wouldn't say the Book of Disquieting is inherently disquieting, except in its uncanniness of Pessoa to depict the thoughts that at least I specifically have on page in a very like candid way. It's very well written, and this is a book I am going to come back to again and again. I might check out a different collection and translation of these works. Another thing about the text is it has a lot of omissions. Like there are just parts that it's just missing text, or here Pessoa is like crossed out a word, or his Pessoa's handwriting is just borderline unreadable, and the text is sort of fragmented. Some of the fragments are intentional to the text, and other ones are just Pessoa not revising this. Also, Pessoa never released the Book of Disquiet in his lifetime. He died before this book was properly completed. Like, he had written all of the manuscripts, but he hadn't compiled it. So there is an element of real world tragedy in Pessoa's life that's metatextual to this novel. And it is also difficult to describe it as a novel because it very much buckles the conventions of the 19th century novel in numerous ways. Sometimes it reads more like a collection of diary entries. It's also the main character is essentially the author of the novel. And also it doesn't really have a plot in like a coherent sense. It's a very like vignette. It's very much full of vignettes. So anyway, Book of Disquiet. This is 5 stars with a seal of recommendation. And I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.